crazy wind. Listen to that, by the way. And that wasn't even the worst of the storm. Here comes the Cat 5 stuff, okay? And you can see he was staying in a hotel town called Emiliano Zapata. Watch the top of the screen coming up right here. Look at that. That's part of the roof that comes off. You want to talk about terrifying. So him and a bunch of other people that were staying at the hotel, they kind of congregate in the hall, and they all end up in one bathroom. Okay, I think it was 6, 7 people, something like that, and they're hearing pieces of the roof come off. They had to ride out 2 eye walls. Look at that, mattress. They used a mattress as a roof. And luckily everybody was okay here, but it's always interesting to open the door for the first time after you ride something out like that, and that's what he did here. Look at this. And by the way, it's still pretty windy, even though the worst of it's through. And the damage was really bad, and I know a lot of people think this storm underperformed, wasn't a huge mega catastrophe, but that's because it hit a low populated area. I mean, this was a big problem for a lot of people. Look at some of this stuff.
Breaking news. Hurricane Patricia has landed in Mexico. Here is a radar for the moment. I'm just trying to get y'all up to speed on what's going on.
The arrival of Hurricane Patricia. The relatively calm winds blowing ashore on Thursday have since strengthened into what forecasters say could be a potentially catastrophic Category 5 storm. The World Meteorological Organization says Patricia has grown very quickly since early Friday morning. They say its strength is comparable with Typhoon Haiyan, which devastated the Philippines nearly 2 years ago. Authorities are doing all they can to warn local communities of the potential danger. Roberto Ramirez of Mexico's Water Commission says Patricia may well be the most intense hurricane the region has seen since records began in 1949. It may look calm now, but Patricia is expected to make landfall in the hurricane warning area by Friday afternoon or evening. Residents and tourists are being urged to steer clear of beaches and take shelter.
That killed about 30 people and caused widespread damage. Weather officials say flash flood watches are in effect for central Texas and in the Houston area. Flooding in those regions last month turned streets into rivers, submerged thousands of vehicles, and led to swollen rivers that ripped scores of houses off their foundations. Heavy rain hit parts of Texas over the weekend, pushing rivers a little closer to spilling over their banks. The rivers were already high due to the previous heavy rains. In the Houston area, rain could total as much as 10 inches by Thursday.
More injured when a fast-moving car plowed into a crowd watching a homecoming parade at Oklahoma State University in Stillwater. Local media reported that a 25-year-old woman driving the car was arrested for driving under the influence of drugs or alcohol. Fire officials said rescue vehicles already participating in the parade responded to the injured. Locals were left in shock.
We are heartbroken at this tragedy, and our thoughts and prayers are with the families of those who died and of those who are injured.
Witnesses said the crash occurred when the parade was ending. The university's homecoming festivities are described as some of the largest in the world.
Were there in that intersection? near about 15 miles north of the town of Corsicana, where throughout most of the night, the interstate, about a 30-mile stretch of it, has been shut down because much of it has been covered in water, we are told. And emergency officials just a short while ago saying that they are starting to reopen the interstate here. So as you can imagine, it is a backed-up situation here. As you look around, this was the point of no return here. Basically, all the cars that have stacked up here throughout the overnight hours. And we're looking down toward the south here, but when you come back out this way, you can see for miles and miles the cars that have been stacked up here throughout the overnight hours trying to make their way between Dallas and Houston. But it sounds like the waters have receded enough where emergency officials think it's safe enough to reopen portions of the interstate and allow traffic to start moving through. But it has been a treacherous situation throughout the night, Christy. Several dozen high water rescues along the roadways here in the Corsicana area. Emergency management official tells me that in a little more than 24 hours since these rains started, they've received 17.5 inches of rain, more than 20 inches in some parts of the county around Corsicana. So a great deal of water that they've had to deal with, and they say that the rains will continue to fall, although it's been falling. This is about as light as we've seen here throughout the overnight hours, so that is some good news, and perhaps give the waters a chance to recede here in this area as the storms continue to move through. It has been a treacherous and unrelenting downpour that we've seen here in this part of Texas.
Breaking news. Hurricane Patricia has landed in Mexico. Here is a radar for the moment. I'm just trying to get y'all up to speed on what's going on.